So hello everyone, welcome to the MSS here at Maitland. My name is Jonathan, also known as Sora. I am here with my friend Landon, also known as Cobalt online.
Hello.
Hi. We're getting into the finals. As much as we would have loved to have cast the top 8 and most of the series throughout the earlier on. We were both competing, so kind of a little bit of a sticky situation for us. But let's talk a little bit just overall this top 8. It's been phenomenal looking at it, right?
Oh, for sure. Especially with, the MSS, usually, especially compared to those PCs, you have a bit tighter competition. A lot more people come in, a lot more points on the line. So you bring in a lot more, very hard-hitting players into the fold. And even looking at this top 8, right? Brady Smith, Patrick Connors, Patrick Connors in our finals right now. Anthony Sabol, Austin Litovsky?
I don't
should
know.
probably ask him how to pronounce
Yeah, we gotta
it.
get.
Riley Factura, me, Brendan, and Devin, a really stacked top cut, a lot of, work in by these trainers to get to this point. And, after fighting, through the fire and flames, through that Swiss round, those 6 rounds of Swiss, and now up in this bracket, we have our finals. Patrick Connors versus Riley Factura.
This is an entirely amazing set to just watch because we basically have the #1 player of NA based off of the points, Riley Factura. Been on the top of the game ever since of the 2024 season starting up, and then now we have Patrick Connors, a very top player here in Orlando, and now we could actually see the players both on screen, looking at them just chatting around because that's mostly how it is in Pokemon community. You just talk and you just have fun with the game.
Yeah, of course, and we've got Riley, like we said, one of the top players, and then Patrick, not necessarily a player you really see maybe at the, among those CP leaderboards, but he's still pretty far up there. Patrick, definitely a force in a bit of the Florida local scene. You see, if you look at a lot of the top cuts, you'll see his name all around. Very strong player, definitely an up-and-coming player, top 64 at the 2023 Orlando Regional.
Damn.
Definitely a player that can't be underestimated.
Yeah.
Riley Factura, top player or not, Patrick definitely, is here with some pretty scary, threats overall.
That Ogerpon Cornerstone.
Ogerpon Cornerstone, definitely not something you see very commonly.
It's probably one of the least Terras, like one of the least mass use ever at all compared to just Ogre Fire and Ogre Water. Most of those Ogerpons, after we saw like in the top 8 and like the usage and all that, they've been high up there. But Ogerpon Water and Ogerpon Cornerstone being in here, but now we have Riley Factura. Obviously we don't even have to say anything. The man speaks for himself.
Yeah, just looking at those accolades, a player many people are aware of. Definitely a force you cannot underestimate. Look at that, 5-time regional champions, 2024 LAIC top 4, many accolades, not enough. And when looking at his team, we have something maybe he's a bit more familiar with for those of you keeping up with them. That King Gambit, that Amoonguss, Urshifu Rapid, Raging Bolt, Ogerpon, Heartslime, and Chen Pao. Some tried and true core, especially from a player like Riley, something he's familiar with. But by extension, a lot of players might be familiar with him running.
Yeah. Bit soon, but this is actually going to be #1, just in a very interesting matchup, especially since we saw Patrick play earlier on in the top 8 going against Brady Smith and beating him 2-0, which was such a phenomenal, and I don't think anyone had that on the prediction list coming into this top 8. But overall, I think let's try to talk about a little bit more of these teams and just kind of figure out what might be the best plays for both of these, especially for Riley, since he's going to be going against a team that seems to be a lot more about the priority spam, especially with the Furgraph with the Armor Tail to just kind of stop any prio on his side. But with the Cornerstone as well, it just gets that +1 defense boost once it goes into that Terraform.
Yeah, of course, that Ogerpon Cornerstone definitely probably going to be a pretty central part of Patrick's strategy. That defense buff, very good into a lot of the parts of Riley's team, as well as having Sturdy online. The only thing that really threatens that Sturdy, of course, would be, that Urshifu Rapid Strike, those Surging Strikes. Sturdy doesn't really matter if you're getting hit 3 times. And then even looking at the rest of, Riley's team, a lot of priority. Things like the Chen Pao Sucker Punch, the King Gambit Sucker Punch, Thunderclap, Aqua Jet, and, one well-placed Furgraph can kind of cancel a lot of the value that Riley's going to be looking for on his team. So Patrick maybe trying to lean into that, that Ogerpon Cornerstone and that Furgraph to try and stop Riley, stop him from getting momentum, and then use that momentum that he gains from that to maybe try and secure a win pretty, quickly. The longer that game goes on, the more Riley's able to get online, and therefore the harder it's going to be for Patrick to take him a victory.
Yeah, it just seems like sounds like just overall, it sounds like both of these players are going to have to play their entire heart out just to figure out who to win. But before we even get in, because it looks like I think the match is going to start pretty soon. Who do you think is going to win? Do you think it's going to be Patrick, the hometown hero, or are you going to be the champion Riley?
I think I'm gonna have to vote for Riley here, mainly because he's beaten me so many times. So I'd like to say I got beaten by the champion.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna go with Patrick, the hometown hero. Beating Brady and beating Riley. That's a timeline that no one had predicted, and honestly, I would love to see it play out. But it looks like we're gonna be getting head straight into the match with Riley starting off with the the Chen Pao Urshifu with Patrick with the double extreme speed duo.
Yeah, definitely. you know, that Chien-Pao Urshifu, definitely a very scary lead. A lot of immediate damage can be threatened, especially with those Terra types, you know, that Riley Factura running the Terra Grass on his Rapid Strike, you know. Usually you'll see something like a Terra Water, but you'll see an uptick, or you've seen an uptick in the defensive Terras, Grass, Steel, things like that to try and eat these hits. But now you're kind of scared to hit that Terra Grass. But Riley going and swapping out that Urshifu, bringing in the King Gambit.
Ooh, this is interesting. It seems like he's reading into the extreme speed, which honestly is going to do a lot of damage no matter what, because Chien-Pao's on the field. Swords of Ruins, like, it's activated, so all the mons are like lowered in defense, and Terra normal.
Yeah, that Terra normal extreme speed, even, you know, with Sword of Ruin active, King Gambit might be bulky, and even on a resisted hit, it's still going to do a solid chunk of damage. And, double extreme speed going to the King Gambit. The Entei not getting too much damage onto it. The Entei definitely not known to be a bit, you know, these Enteis generally a bit bulkier. But,
That's
normal.
a lot. Now the real question is, does Chien-Pao go for Sacred Sword? And it
Sacred
does!
Sword to the read.
Oh, has enough to knock it out. That Dragonite's a little bit bulky, and I think since Dragonite is Choice Bandit, it is locked into that extreme speed spot, so...
Patrick definitely needs to be a bit hesitant. You know, that double Sucker Punch on the field can take care of that Dragonite very quickly, maybe opting for that swap out to deny it. But you have to see, you know, Riley might be expecting that and go for something solid into that. That way, you know, instead of Sucker Punch, you get some solid damage on whatever swapping in, and possibly even a KO. King Gambit plus Sword of Ruin is not something you can ignore. That sheer just no amount of damage that can be threatened, especially with that bulk, it's going to be very hard to mitigate on Patrick's side.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like the swap is coming out on the Patrick side, going into that Urshifu we on the first time on the field now. I thought I was going to say before, but that was Riley's, you know. Both of them got the little bears going on the field.
Riley's Terra coming out. Looks like it's going onto the Chien-Pao, maybe trying to expect that extreme speed to break that sash. You know, trying to avoid it, maybe nullify that Entei. Especially if it goes, try and break that sash. That means this Chien-Pao's probably going to be going for an offensive attack.
Sucker Punch?
Oh,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Sacred Sword coming out onto Urshifu does about 50%.
But Sacred Fire going into that Chien-Pao slot, doing a hefty amount. Does it get the burn? Nope.
No burns. That Chien-Pao's still a very offensive threat. You know, that Sucker Punch is still a very, very prominent threat from Patrick. He needs to find a way to mitigate that. Because if not, you know, the game can be over very quickly before he even gets a chance to get an attack out.
No, yeah, not only that, but also without the burn in general, that Chien-Pao still could do a hefty amount of damage. It could knock out that Entei if it doesn't go for the extreme speed. But now the more question is, you know, Patrick is just taking a lot of damage, just doing switches in and out, and just Riley's just playing the aggressor, just doing so much to whatever Mon is coming in. At some point, a Mon is going to be brought out, or it's going to stay in the field, and it's going to be knocked out, and a lot of momentum is going to be in favor of Riley.
Yeah, of course, Patrick definitely on the back foot right now, trying to get some kind of foothold in this game state, but it's going to be hard. There's a lot of offensive threats. Even like we saw earlier, that Entei doesn't really threaten too much damage, and even if it opts for something like a Sacred Fire into that King Gambit slot, you do still have that 5% chance of missing. But Riley opting to swap out into the Urshifu from the Chien-Pao. Sucker Punch comes out from King Gambit, gets the knockout on Entei.
Ooh, the dog will not be barking anymore. It's going to be black in its ball, and that's actually such a strong read from Riley. It kind of expected it for the Entei to go for a move, so the Sucker Punch was such a safe play. And then now it's being repositioned, so that Urshifu has the ability to just go for any move now, especially since it's Choice Scarf, but also with Patrick's Chien-Pao on the field, something's dying.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick, you know, maybe fine with that Entei going down, meaning he can get a safe swap into his Chien-Pao. You know, Chien-Pao very frail. That sash only lives you one hit. So getting that Chien-Pao in safely could help Patrick shift this game state over. But now if Patrick wants to opt for something like the extreme speed from the Dragonite, he needs to be very scared of that Chien-Pao in the back. Terra goes swapping in, nullifying that damage, and that's going to make it very hard for Patrick to build momentum up in this fight. We're in a very volatile game state, and Patrick trying to make the most of it, going for the extreme speed into the King Gambit slot.
It doesn't knock it out. That's not good.
Aqua Jet comes out from the Urshifu, knocking out the Dragonite. Maybe the Sword of Ruin mattered, maybe not, but that is one thing you always have to keep in mind when you have those Treasures of Ruin on the field, is, you know, those abilities are global, so you have to be very scared. Sucker Punch coming out onto the King Gambit, though.
Trade for trade.
Able to take care of that King Gambit. Maybe this is Patrick's kind of last stand.
Yeah, possibly. It seems like right now it's just he has the Chien-Pao, which I think is full HP with the sash still, but against that Urshifu, it is locked into that Aqua Jet move, so it either is going to just kind of keep pivoting off with the Aqua Jet, or it's going to be swapped out into its final Mon. But I don't think Riley really wants to do that because he doesn't want to give any more information to Patrick right now. But honestly, Riley's still, I think, trying to figure out what Mon he wants to bring in, especially since obviously Patrick doesn't really have a lot of choices, just that Urshifu. But I think overall, it just seems like from this match, Riley has just been understanding that Patrick likes to play a little bit aggressive most of the time, and because of the swap outs, he hasn't been able to find some fair ground, and that just allowed Riley to just do damage after damage after damage after damage.
Yeah, right. I mean, neither player has their Terra available anymore, but Riley does still have that terrestrialized Chen Pao able to come up on the field. Now it's got a weakness to Sucker Punch as well. Not that it really would have mattered too much. And like you said, that Urshifu is locked into the Aqua Jet, meaning it can't really threaten serious damage onto any of the Pokemon on the field. It could maybe threaten to break the sash of Patrick's Chen Pao, and then, you know, Riley might try and play. But no, swapping out the Urshifu, bringing out that fourth Pokemon. Oh, the Amoonguss in the back. Definitely going to be very hard for Patrick to mitigate this, especially Sucker Punch breaks the focus sash, so now Patrick needs to be very mindful, especially that Sucker Punch not getting any value.
Smart of him to go for the Aqua Jet and the Sucker Punch, you know, just in case it actually did go for the Sucker Punch. It is a crit. I don't think it mattered. It's
Surging Strikes.
What?
Surging Strikes is a guaranteed crit.
Was it not Aqua Jet? Oh. I thought it was Riley that had Aqua Jet. That's why Riley swapped it out. You see?
Exactly. Now he's got that reset on the Choice Scarf. So now Patrick needs to be very mindful. Having that Choice Scarf not locked in anything, meaning a Surging Strike could be threatened on the Chen Pao, but that Chen Pao is going to be very important to take care of the Amoonguss.
Well, Chen Pao's important, but like all Riley has to do is just click that Rage Powder, and then Surging Strike the Chen Pao, and it's just basically GG.
Yeah, definitely going for that Rage Powder.
There's the Rage Powder. Look, it's giving off the powders in the air just to distract. Close combat.
Close combat into the there goes the Chen Pao, and now it's Urshifu versus the world on Patrick's side.
I think this might be game one lock.
This might be. I mean, you never. I've seen Urshifu do a lot of things it doesn't deserve to.
I don't think it's gonna do a lot of damage.
Surging Strikes into the Amoonguss, not doing much damage at all, and now Patrick probably just gonna try and get some information this game. That way he can go back into game 2 with a bit stronger of a strategy and maybe try and deal with Riley's early aggression that he tries to do, helping Riley very much able to mitigate Patrick's aggression. So now Patrick maybe looking to take a step back, play maybe a bit slower, let Riley fall into his trap.
I definitely do agree. I think that might be the play. And yeah, with that Urshifu knockout, it looks like Riley will be taking game 1. And I honestly think, looking at this, what moves or decisions could Patrick could have possibly done to secure? I feel like that Farigiraf needs to come in game 2.
Oh, definitely. That Farigiraf being able to mitigate the Sucker Punch. But one thing you got to keep in mind is that King Gambit's on the field. That Farigiraf's under a lot of threat. Granted, that Patrick does have that terrestrialization option, terrestrializing to Fairy, but then you open up that Steel weakness, which is not something you want to have staring down King Gambit and Chen Pao. I think Patrick definitely needs to maybe reassess, his strategy tempo-wise. Definitely try and maybe play the game a bit slower. Let Riley play into him rather than him playing into Riley. Riley very much able to mitigate that aggression, take those early chip, and clean up the game with all these priority moves at the end.
I 100% agree. I definitely do think that all of that is 100% what needs to be happening going into this. But I also really would have loved to see the Cornerstone come out, I think.
Yeah, Ogerpon Cornerstone, not something common. I believe on our usage stats today, Ogerpon Water
might be the only one.
Ogerpon, yeah, I think that might be the only Ogerpon Cornerstone. I'd have to check, but I know, like, in our usage stats today, Ogerpon Water, I believe, was the highest of the mass, followed by Heartflame. I know I personally was running Ogerpon Water.
I was running Heartflame, so.
Now we just need an Ogerpon Teal Mask, and we've got the
squad. We got the squad. But I don't think anyone was running the Teal Mask today. But I think, talking a little bit more about this matchup, I feel like definitely Patrick was relying on a lot of the prio, but I feel like most of the mons that Riley brought in were mons that were able to kind of position out and just not only do a little bit of damage, but also take most of the damage. Hence why you didn't see the Raging Bolt or even the Ogerpon Heartflame, because those mons, well, Raging has a lot of bulk into it, but I don't think it would have done a lot going into Patrick's team.
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially if you look at Riley's Raging Bolts, that he's opting for that calm mindset. Very, a bit in contrast. It's been on the up and up, but usually you'll see something like the Assault Vest. Raging Bolt with a lot of natural bulk, adding the Assault Vest onto it makes it even bulkier, but some players have been opting to go for either Safety Goggles, Booster Energy, or Leftovers and run that Calm Mind. That way you get the Protect option as well.
I don't see a Calm Mind.
Is he not running Calm Mind?
Are you talking about...
Oh yeah, never mind. He's not opting for that Calm Mind.
You just saw that he's running Protect, Thunderbolt, yeah.
Still having that Protect option though, especially that Safety Goggles to kind of help mitigate the Amoonguss. But we're gonna go ahead and get into game 2.
Same leads?
Same leads from Riley.
Same leads from Riley, different leads from Patrick. Has the Urshifu instead of that Entei, a lot better. kind of get a little sneak peek at Patrick's side of the team, but we do see that Photograph, which is definitely was one of the right calls that we made up here. You know, definitely with that Photograph now in the back, it's going to help out with a lot of the priority. But looks like the Dragonite is going to be swapping out, probably expecting it to be doubled up by either the Urshifu and the Chen Pao. And looks like the Giraffe does come into the field. Look at its sparkles as it shine.
Definitely Patrick trying to mitigate that priority damage threat in the Aqua Jet and the Sucker Punch both on the field and going for that early terrestrialization onto the Urshifu. That Terra Water, boosting up those Surging Strikes, boosting up that Aqua Jet, especially with that Choice Scarf item. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be fast and it's going to hit hard. Maybe even see where he targets into.
It's, yeah, most of the time.
Sucker Punch blocked by the Armor Tail. Great swap from Patrick.
Huge read from Patrick's side. Close combat.
Urshifu opting for the close combat.
Oh,
and just survives.
Barely lives.
That defense drop definitely could come into play later. Riley's not able to safely get that Urshifu out of the way.
Where does Surging Strike go into? It goes into the Chen Pao slot. That Chen Pao is going to go back to its Pokeball as it retreats because of all the damage it's taken. Very huge, very big plays by Patrick. Getting rid of that Chen Pao. Definitely that Sucker Punch is a huge threat. And now that Riley's Urshifu is locked into that close combat, it really, while it could knock out that Urshifu slot, it can't do a lot to that Farigiraf. So looks like he might have to possibly reconsider repositioning himself going into this next turn.
Of course, I mean, especially that Sword of Ruin being off the field means that Farigiraf, a generally pretty bulky Pokemon, a lot of people will use it either as their Trick Room setter as a way to counter Trick Room, or even then just a bulky form of anti-priority. It's going to be a lot harder to take it down, especially with the amount of physical threats on Riley's team.
And especially with that Citrus Berry, like, basically, even it could take one Surging Strike, even with the Swords of Ruin on the field, and it would just eat that berry up and go num 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 and recover a quarter of HP back.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that Farigiraf definitely something Riley needs to look into. You know, depending on what Riley has in the back, and maybe he brought that King Gambit. The Ogerpon comes out on the side of Riley.
First Ogerpon of the match, and its first debut on this finals, and it's a little bit interesting to see this Ogerpon fire. You usually don't want to have it come out, especially when you have a Surging Strike Terra Water Urshifu on the opposing side. But maybe he is expecting it to go for a swap out, or possibly even hopefully winning that speed tie if it is possible with his Urshifu.
Yeah, I mean, both Urshifus are holding that Choice Scarf item, so there is the possibility that they are speed tying. There's been a lot of Urshifu sets that have been, you know, moving around, so it's really hard to, you know, keep track of it until you just see it happen a couple times. But yeah, you know, Riley bringing in that Ogerpon, assumingly that means he's going to try and step on the gas and, you know, get this game moving.
The gas is stepped. Where is it going? Where is the terrestrialization going to?
Onto the Ogerpon.
Ooh, looks like we're going to be seeing our beautiful Terra Fire Ogerpon Heart Flame onto the field. Look how it is brightened with anger because it wants to get a knockout. Now the real question is, what move did it click? Because I'm pretty sure it's going to be that Ivy color. It wins a speed tie. Oh.
Close combat into Patrick's Urshifu, taking care of that major threat to that Ogerpon. And now, even though we don't have that Sword of Ruin online on Riley's side anymore, a +1 on that attack from the terrestrialization on the Ogerpon can definitely threaten a lot of damage onto this Farigiraf.
I think it would do a lot.
But we're going to see.
It might need a crit to knock out this Farigiraf, because if not, it's going to eat that berry up. Ooh. Oh! One hit KO, and that wasn't even a crit. Without Swords of Ruin, that is the monster and powerhouse that Ogerpon Fire is.
Yeah, that Fire Ogerpon, that +1 attack threatens a lot, especially, you know, with that Ivy Cudgel, that base 100 with an increased chance to crit. Crit or not, you're going to be threatening a lot of damage after terrestrialization. And now, Patrick forced to bring in his last two Pokemon, that Entei and that Dragonite, those two priority core mons, but this time there's no Chen Pao on the field, meaning they don't get to benefit from its Sword of Ruin on its partner Pokemon. So now, you know, Patrick needs to be very careful. He's at a one Pokemon disadvantage, but he needs to be very mindful of that Ogerpon. That Ogerpon, you know, having that Stomping Tantrum as well, that +1 attack Stomping Tantrum onto something like the Entei can threaten a lot of damage.
Not only that, but also Patrick has to be very careful and hopefully makes the right move on what move he clicks for that Dragonite, because it is Choice Banded. So once it hits that move, it is locked in for the rest of this tournament. Rest of this match until either Patrick wins or Riley wins. It's going to be very decisive. It looks like as the timer is going down, Patrick is hastily picking up his move. Might have read the Urshifu swap out. Urshifu returning to its owner as the Amoonguss comes onto the field. Very strong play.
Yeah, Riley choosing to swap out that Urshifu, you know, at minus. Ooh, the Spiky Shield comes out. That means there's going to be a little bit of chip damage getting dealt to both of Patrick's Pokemon. But yeah, Riley choosing to swap out that Urshifu, maybe to reset, you know, reset that choice item, give a new option like the Surging Strike could be very powerful into these two Pokemon on the field, and especially get rid of those defense drops that it has to deal with.
Especially, not only that, but also he probably had read that the double extreme speed into that Ogre Pond slot because of the amount of damage that it did. So now Amoonguss free to just enter the battle freely without any damage or a scratch given to it, and that's actually going to be a very bad positioning for Patrick. If he would have gone for the Sacred Fire onto that Amoonguss slot, just to even get the burn onto the Urshifu, would have done a hefty amount, but the extreme speed does go.
Does a solid amount to the Amoonguss. Ivy Cudgel comes out, not the stopping tension on an Entei, rather Ivy Cudgel onto the Dragonite.
Not going to be a lot of damage.
I'd say that's a solid amount.
That's a lot. Never mind, I was wrong.
Sacred Fire comes out onto the Amoonguss, gets that knockout. That Amoonguss threat very much mitigated now, but now you have that Choice Scarf Urshifu entering the field with the Aqua Jet option, with the Scarfed Surging Strikes option. A lot of fast offensive options next to something like that Ogre Pond, which can deal its own share of damage. So Patrick definitely now locked into that extreme speed. You know, not really many other options, and Riley knows that. So now Riley only has to worry about what that Entei is doing, and it's going to make it a lot easier for him to make a match-winning move.
It is going to come down to, will Riley put his foot off the gas pedal and just go for that Spiky Shield onto that Ogre Pond, or is he just going to decide to just go all in and play hyper aggressive into Patrick's final two Mons? Because if he goes for that Spiky Shield, it actually might cost him the game. Extreme Speed does go into the Entei.
A little bit into the Urshifu. Extreme Beam comes out from the Dragonite. The
Not
Urshifu
enough.
just survives.
Not
that
enough.
Surging Strikes comes out onto the Entei. I don't see it living this one.
I don't think so either. It looks it's onto its final
Entei
hit.
goes down, and then we can just go ahead, you know, might be able to assume that the Terrifier Ivy Cudgel going onto this Dragonite. We saw how much damage it did last time.
Hear me out. It misses. It misses the Ivy Cudgel.
The Ivy Cudgel,
The
100%
Ivy Cudgel
accuracy.
yeah, the 100% accuracy.
Ivy Cudgel comes out onto the Dragonite, and that is going to be game 2. Riley Factura, now your Maitland MSS champion.
The storyline was broken. No.
Definitely a really good game there. Patrick definitely trying, but not really able to mitigate Riley's offense, and because of that, you know, Patrick's bit slower style with his team makes it, you know, a lot easier for Riley to come in, play his game, and the more Riley gets to play his game, the easier it is for him to go and close in on those wins like he did there.
100%. Yeah, definitely. I think both of these teams are meant to play hyper aggressive, but Riley just putting a lot more gas into that pedal, just doing a lot more damage at the damage. And even as we saw in game 1, no matter what swaps that Patrick was able to go for, trying to, you know, mitigate or reposition himself, Riley was just there, just doing damage at the damage, and each turn his mons just got weaker and weaker to the point that it was impossible to even take hits once he was doing damage. And overall, I think that was a great set.
Oh, I think that was a really good set. You know, 2-0 or not, both trainers put in a lot of effort, especially just to get here. Getting to the finals of this MSS is very much an achievement. A lot of strong players here. So being able to make it this far, you know, even if you're on Patrick's side, you know, you can still hold your head high. You made it to the grand finals of the Orlando MSS, and on top of that, you got to go against somebody like Riley Factura. That is an experience that
And Brady Smith.
And Brady Smith, yeah. And that's an experience those are both experiences you can take with you going into the future and, you know, become a better trainer off that. And that's kind of the reason we do what we do here.
Especially with Orlando coming up around the corner. You know, I think overall, even the final standings, let's take a quick look. Oh, you're right there. Yeah, Riley is, of course, in first, with Patrick following up in second. Overall, all these players playing today in this top 8 and everyone who else participating in the MSS did a phenomenal job. It was a very, very close set, and overall, like, tournament itself, a lot of strong players. And overall, I don't think this is going to be the end of, you know, Riley. I think, of course, we've seen Riley in the multiple past, and I think Patrick will be coming back at some point, playing at either PC or another MSS being held here at the Maitland local.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know I'll be here.
Yeah, I'll be here. I was here yesterday in top 8, but, you know, went against a good old Don, and I don't want to talk about it.
Really, I mean, a really successful event for a lot of trainers. A lot of interesting things came out. A lot of teams. Ogre Pond Rock in the finals. I don't think anybody could have predicted that. A lot of very interesting storylines, and it all came back on top. You know, Riley Factura, one of those top players in America, taking home the victory.
I would have loved to have seen that cornerstone. You know, I think it would have been great. It would have been fantastic. You know, see Ogre Pond versus Ogre Pond. We did see the fire. We didn't see the rock. But, you know, hey, that is the game we play. Overall, overall, this was a great finals. I really wish we would have casted, you know, top 8 and top 4, but, you know, players gotta play.
My bad, I was playing.
You were going against Riley. You gotta lock in.
Yeah, I mean, Anything else?
No. Overall, I think great tournament. Hopefully, we'll be back again soon for the next PC, the next MSS here at the Maitland local, and or any other location that we can cast.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, yeah, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to all of our trainers for showing up. It was a really fun tournament, at least for me playing. I had a lot of fun playing. I played a lot of unique teams. I think I played a Clodsire at one point. Not something not a part of my team prep by any means.
Yeah, no one expects a Clodsire to come in. no one sees Clodsire. It's like, oh my god, that's a threat. How do I prepare for this?
I won't lie, it scared me a lot.
Yeah, just run Psychic on Flutter. But overall, congratulations to Riley Factor.
Yeah, of course.
You are a Maitland local, and I think we're gonna be
I
anything
think
else.
that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I was Landon.
My name is Sean.
Yeah.
I was stupid. Yeah, my name is Jonathan, also known as Sora, and we hope to see you guys again soon.